Okay, so back to the SGR12, and we're going to remove the front end now so we can do the barrel upgrade. So I've got 3 ZCI type bore barrels here, and one of them's, I was putting a maple leaf rubber on already, but we'll get the rest out in a minute and put the rest on. These ZCI barrels, I think, are pretty good. You could spend 100, probably 60-70 pounds buying the Prometheus ones at 50, I think about 50-ish pounds each plus postage. If you got the money, fine, but I think these are more than adequate. So we're going to fit them. So to get the front end off, it's a while since I did one of these, so I had to remember myself, to be honest. There's quite a few screws, so I've actually taken them all out, so I'll just point out what they are. So the first set of screws that you need to take off is this plastic piece that sits over there, and there's 2 Phillips screws, so you take those 2 off. It's screws in there, it sits flush on the top. Take that off. Screw there, there and there. You don't need to bother with these 2 or that one. Same ones on the opposite side, just reflected on the opposite side. Grip, you can see there's 4 screws there. They screw into 4 square metal tabs that sit in these groups, so it's dead easy to lose those. So I think what I'm going to do is when I put it back together, probably just going to super glue them in there. And then finally, a screw there, 2 screws there. That just helps, and you can then pivot the whole of this off, which needs a little bit of persuasion. You just need to pull those slightly, and then it'll come off like that. Pull it out of the way. So I can move that. And then there's 4 torques holding that there. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then front end just comes off. So we'll come back to the gearbox later, because we're going to put in the equivalent. It's an M100 equivalent spring. It's not an M100 spring. If you put an M100 in this, the FPS will be terrible, because it's split through 3 cylinders for the 3 BBs. So it's typically something like an M150, M160 spring. So we're going to replace the motor and replace. Okay, so taking pretty much every screw out of this barrel assembly. All the ones out the top of here, ones out of this main unit, well, obviously the ones out of this side as well. So that piece comes off in 2. So that's every screw out of there. So should just be able to pop this apart. Let's just check. I think the last thing we need to do is pull this tube off. So we'll just check that you pull this tube off, and then we'll come back. Yep, with all the screws out, this tube pulls off. It was just really tight because I don't think it's ever been off before. So it's, there we go, off we come. And you should now be able to open up this entire hop unit, which should be quite interesting to have a look inside, given it's got 3 hop units. Pop this whole thing out. Interesting. Right. So I think I'm going to keep the video going for this, because I have not ever taken one of these apart before, so the video will be coming quite handy. So it looks like, yep, so there's four small Phillips screws here, So we'll take those out. Okay, so I just want to make sure nothing springs off. Okay, you be careful. Some 2 springs there. I want to be careful with those. Now I would guess this grey bit slides off now. Yep. And then there's a double barrel clip. By the looks of it, or does this come apart? Or does it just lift off? Let's see. Okay, so that unit lifts off like that. And then you can see there's clips for each of the barrels. So I'm just going to pop that one off. So the black one is the top, and then it's like this. There's a double one here for the bottom 2 barrels. Be careful with that. Oh, something's come out there, which is the hop arm for these side ones. So there's a hop nub there, hop arm there, and then 2 on the side. Let's put those carefully out of the way. Yeah, top tip if you're ever doing something that you've never done before is video it with your phone. So if you can't remember how things go back together, it's really useful to refer to. So this should just slide out now. Yep. Out comes this one. Comes that one. There we go. I'll just grab these hot rubbers, slide them out. 1, 2. There we go. Right, so we should be able to install these now. So interestingly, I wonder whether, do they have a nub? Or is it just, oh yeah, there's a nub in that one. Interesting. That is interesting. So the top one does have a nub. The side ones don't seem to. We'll come back to that in a minute. The spring, but we'll do that in another video. I'm just going to do the barrels for now. Anyway, let's get these barrels swapped over. So here's the first one with a 60-degree maple leaf hop on it, which is about the right softness or hardness. 50's pretty soft, 60's probably about right for this. 70 is starting to, and 80 you're getting into DMR and sniper territory. So this is right hardness or softness for this job. So I'll stick this into there. It's quite a nice tight fit. Lovely. helps if you take out the barrel plugs. Actually, I forgot these barrels aren't ZCI, they are Tom Tack, so 6.02. Not sure whether you'll need the O-ring or not. These are good for stabilising the outer barrels, but not sure whether they'll be needed in this case. We might take them out, we'll see in a bit when we reassemble it. Put that together. Number 2. These out of the way. Okay. So there is your 3 barrels. Put this back on there. There we go. Right. So the double barrel clip goes over there. That goes on here. Like that. Yeah, well, that's looking good. There's the top one. There's the top one. Put that one on. Like so. So that is quite strange. So the side ones don't have a traditional hop nub. They've got these angled hop arms. And the top one has a traditional nub in there, which I'm going to replace. With a maple leaf omega nub. Okay, so I've got that the hop nub in, and then put the piece on top of it. Put the other 2 hop arms in the side. So should be a case of sliding these things back on. I suspect once I have everything fallen out, I suspect this piece won't go over with those O-rings on there as a start. We'll see. There goes one of those arms. Pick them up in a minute. And there goes the other one. Yeah, so I'll just pop these O-rings off. One. Luckily I have spare ones, but I suspect we're not going to need these O-rings. There we go. It's alright, this should slide over now. There we are. that hop on. Let's look at the mechanism. I don't want to play with this too much, but it's interesting. It's got one there, one going across there, and one in the middle, and they all act on these points there. Okay, so let's put that back into there. Okay. And then we can put this piece on the front, I guess. That way round. There we go. And then put the four screws back in. Number one. Do them in a cross pattern, which is good practice, and don't torque them up too tight to start with. There we go. And then we'll just nip each one of them up a quarter turn. There we go. Right, so there is the barrels. So I'm just going to see whether they really need those O-rings on. I don't think they do, because there's the securing end for the 3 barrels at the front end of here. So I suspect that's just going to not help having no, those hot rubbers aren't going to do anything. They're going to stop it from going in. Right, so we don't need hot rubbers, O-rings, we don't need those. Put them in there. So put this back together now. So obviously this side of all the hot markings goes on this side. Let's get this the right way. Like that. And then this one is going to go on this side. Like that. That slides over there. So what we can do now is start putting all the screws back in here. these countersunk hexes in first, Phillips in first. So there's one in here. One over here. And one down the bottom. Nip them up. Okie dokie. And then beware of this nut falling out. Put this piece back on. Like that. And there's this long Phillips at the bottom. Tighten it up in a minute. These two short stubby ones with thread lock on. Sort them out in a minute. These Phillips ones one in there. And two on this side. Now then, actually, there's a little error. So you need to slide this tube back on first before you put these four in. Pop that out. Slide you out of the barrel for a sec. Let's get this on. It'll only go on one way, it's keyed there. That's it. Okay, so I'll put the outer barrel back on. Make a little bit of persuasion. Oh, it's been a bit awkward. I'll come back when it's back on. Okay, so these barrels just slightly too long by maybe 2-3 mil. So what you've got to do, the inside of there, you just have to drill the holes out a bit. So the way this plastic insert inside there that holds the barrels together, it's the holes are the diameter of the barrel, sort of 3/4 of the way through the thickness of this stuff, and then it closes off, so you don't quite see the full diameter of the barrel. So they just need reaming out ever so slightly. I used a 7.5 mil drill bit and then an 8.5 mil drill bit, and then just gently sanded the rest so that you could slip these over the outer barrels. So yeah, so 275 mil barrels do work in here. You just got to modify this ever so slightly. So that's the barrel pretty much back together now. So just put the last 2 screws in that secure it either side. One. Okay, so that's the barrel unit back together. Now it's worth checking the hops work appropriately before putting it all back in the gun, but I'm pretty sure they will do. And that's that part done. So we'll move on to the motor and the gearbox spring next.